That was the trigger that went off for me when I discovered quantum mechanics about me winning the lottery. I was like, okay, so quantum mechanics says there exist many worlds. They call it the many world interpretation. Now keep in mind, people, these are theories they put out there, okay? These are theories. But I'm speaking about my personal experience. It wasn't a theory for me. It was an actual fact. Because as you know my story, I did win the lottery. I did visualize exactly the way it came. It did manifest exactly. So in my world, in my view, in my subjective world, quantum mechanics definitely changed my life. And it affected me. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not a theory for me. It's a law. That's up for debate for anybody else out there, all you science guys out there, whatever. It's a theory, but theories have verifiable evidence to show us that these things are working. For example, theory of relativity is a theory. Without a theory of relativity, we couldn't have satellites, we couldn't have GPS, so these things work, okay? So quantum mechanics take us into the parallel universe. In the parallel realities, you can shift there. So how do you make quantum mechanics work? Well, it's about you. So here's the big thing about quantum mechanics. You are quantum. You see, when you take your body and you break it down, your cells, they become the molecules. When you break your molecules down, they become the atomic world, they become the quantum, the particles. And when you break those particles down, they become nothing. They become energy. They become vibrating strings of energetic patterns. So all of us is made from that. So if you're a quantum particle or quantum world, and your consciousness drives this, it means that you can deliberately now start to visualize, interpret, expect, assume what you want, and that reality will flip into this existence. I must remind you again, the one important fact that you must understand about quantum physics is, okay? Someone says we are metaphysical beings, not physical beings, correct? Or non-physical beings, okay? The one important fact that you must understand, the framework of quantum mechanics says that, guys, that there is nothing real. There is no physical reality. It's an illusion. That's very important if you're going to change your life by design. It means that when you go outside and you look at this tree and it looks and you touch it, it feels real to you. It is a trickery sensory of the brain. That's very important. If you don't get that, you won't manifest and create what you want. Because I'll tell you why. If you are stuck in what they call the Newtonian physics, where you see things as materialism, it's going to be difficult for you to believe that you can live the best version of yourself. It's going to be difficult for you to say, well, man, look, everything is stuck. Nothing's changing. I can't manifest that. That's why it's important for you to get that what you see is not real. It can shift any instant. You can change it. It can vibrate and shift and become into your reality. So that's the thing about quantum mechanics. Now, the next thing about quantum mechanics, it says that we as an observer control the quantum world. By watching something, expecting something, it becomes what we think about and what we expect it to become. There was a famous experiment. It was called the double slit experiment. Basically what it did, you shoot these particles in through these little beams, and then when these particles would go in, they would either become a wave or they'd go on a little dot. So what happens is when you were watching them, the particles behave normally. When you shoot them through the slit, they go bing, 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 bing on the little thing. But what happened is, when you're not observing the particles don't obey the laws of what we call reality. The particles went through and they become a wave. They went through everything. That means they became possibilities. And then when you turn back to look, the particles become a reality. So in layman's terms, it means that, I said it before, whenever you're not looking at something, it ceases to exist and becomes possibilities. When you turn around, it becomes the thing you've seen before. So how can you change your reality through quantum mechanics? Okay, you can change your reality through quantum mechanics by using what's the most powerful part of your consciousness is your imagination. When you visualize, when you can script, when you can expect, that will change the world around you, because you're changing the frequency. It's all about these particles. Every single particle have a certain frequency. They are vibrating at a certain rate. Based on the rate of their vibration, they come in as a car, they come in as your home, they come in as the money, they come in as water, they come in as ice. Everything you experience has certain tuning of it. So you get to tune it through your repetitive imagination of the thing you want. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you have to imagine living in your dream like it's a normal thing. When you do that, you now interpret and change the quantum world. So there's another caveat to this part. So while quantum mechanics changes, there's something that helps us to interpret and create an experience from the quantum into what we see as a physical. And it's through what's called our unconscious or subconscious mind. When your subconscious mind is convinced of whatever it is you're imagining, when it's convinced of that, it interacts with the quantum world, and that becomes a rendering of your new reality. It must exist because another caveat to quantum mechanics, all the particles that make us up, they are not infinite. They are finite. They can only be rearranged in a certain point until they start repeating. And they must repeat. The reason why we must repeat is because the universe is infinite. It doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end, and it also has multiverses, bubbles on bows. So that means I must repeat as Mark in some other universe, in some other Earth, in some other planet, in some other state. This guy you're seeing talking to you right now, there's a version of me just exactly doing a little bit of different thing. That's what the quantum mechanics says. So when I did that, I said, okay, there's got to be a version of me winning the lottery and buying my M3 car. That's what it says. That's what I did. I put it to the test, visualized it, affirmed it, believed it, let it go, repeated it, voila, and I end up winning, buying my car, my M3, winning the lottery like it says. And that's what I knew. Quantum mechanics for me was a fact. It was no longer theory for me. Now it was a fact for me. And I started to do that, and I repeated it, and it kept going and going. And this is why I teach and I show and I enlighten and I make everyone aware that yes, your world is actually like a simulated world. You can be and have anything you desire as long as you have an open mind and you can believe it, and then you know the rules of the game of how this universe works.